Hello everyone, and welcome to Full Well's Knowledge Series. My name is Allegra Gast, and I'm a registered dietitian and international board certified lactation consultant, and I'll be speaking to you all about breastfeeding. So just a little bit about myself. I'm a dietitian and IBCLC lactation consultant, and I'm also the owner of Aloha Nutrition, which is a virtual and in-person private practice where I help families with their breastfeeding and nutrition journeys. So I started Aloha Nutrition when I lived in Hawaii. So my husband is with the U.S. Air Force, and so we were stationed in Hawaii for several years, but we are actually in San Angelo, Texas at this time. I have 2 kids, and I breastfed both of them with challenges. So even lactation consultants, we go through challenges too. And I specialize in postpartum nutrition, and I'm very passionate about helping moms and their families feel good postpartum and feel confident in the way that they're feeding their babies. So what I plan on talking about today is the 4th trimester, what that is, why that's important, the benefits of breastfeeding, milk supply, how to get breastfeeding off to a great start, different breastfeeding positions, overcoming breastfeeding challenges, and then finding support. So to start off, what is the 4th trimester? So I'm sure you know during pregnancy, we have the 1st, 2nd, 3rd trimesters of pregnancies. Well, the 4th trimester is considered the first 3 to 4 months postpartum. So this is when your baby is going from a wet, warm environment in the womb where they're being carried 24/7, they're constantly with you, they're constantly being fed through the placenta, to this new world with lots of sounds and noises and just not with you all the time. So we want to help mimic this environment, that wet, warm, womb-like environment, and help babies just transition into this worldly environment. So this 4th trimester is a really important time to just hold your baby, spend lots of time doing skin to skin, let them know that you are there. And so it's very normal for babies to want to be held. So some benefits of skin to skin is it stabilizes baby's temperature. It also helps with blood sugar control. So if you think about a baby, if they are in fight or flight, they don't know where mom is, and they're crying a lot, they're going to burn through a lot more calories and cause different spikes in their blood sugar. Whereas when they're with their baby, it calms them down. Their heart rate is controlled because they're listening to your heart rate. So listening to your heart rate helps regulate their heart rate. It initiates that bond. There's better success of breastfeeding, and it lowers stress hormone in baby and even in mom. So mom knows that you're there, baby knows you're there, baby knows you, baby knows your smell, and it's just a very comforting, nurturing environment for baby. So moving into the breastfeeding part, so some people think that there's only benefits to baby, but there's so many benefits to mom as well. It prevents breast cancer. It prevents risk of diabetes. So if you think about breastfeeding is very demanding on the body, your breasts are a factory, it's producing breast milk, so it's going to require a lot more sugar or glucose. So it's taking it from your bloodstream into your breast tissue, so it can help manage your blood sugar levels. So this breastfeeding is great if you've experienced, if you had gestational diabetes or you're at risk of diabetes. Breastfeeding is going to be great for that. And then it also helps prevent postpartum depression. With babies, breast milk is very beneficial as it provides babies with antibodies. It contains enzymes and growth factors that helps with baby, helps with their digestion. It also changes based off what baby needs. So as baby gets older, the composition will continue to change. The time of day, it will continue to change. Your body makes sleepy hormones at nighttime, so melatonin. So your breast milk is going to have a little more melatonin at nighttime than in the morning. It also decreases the risk of SIDS. So there's a lot of benefits to breastfeeding. So just to go over the anatomy and physiology of the breast, I find that sometimes it's helpful to get a gist of what breastfeeding is, like what the anatomy is like. So you have your breasts. I'm sure we all know the breast. And some people think that breast size determines whether you're going to have good milk production or not, but that's actually not the case. So breast size does not matter. So your breasts are made up of breast tissue as well as fat. And so it's generally the fat that is what's determining the size, like whether you're an A cup or a D cup or whatever. But what actually helps with breast milk production is the amount of breast tissue. So in your breast, you have the breast tissue, and that's what actually makes the milk. You have your areola, which is the dark circle part. Then you have the nipple, and then inside your breast, you have the milk ducts. So milk ducts, I like to think of your breast is like having grapes or like a grapevine. So you have the clusters of grapes, and then you have the vines, and that is going out to the nipple. So here in the picture, you have the grape-like clusters, and that's what has the breast tissue and holds the breast milk. And then as babies suckle, or you're pumping, or you're manually hand expressing, that is putting compression on the little grapes to help send out more of that milk, and it then goes out through the ducts. You also have nerves. That's my boob. Nerves that go all around the nipple, but one of the most important nerve is called the fourth intercostal nerve, and this directly relates from when a baby suckles. It sends that nerve up to your brain to tell your brain, oh, there's a baby there, let's release the milk. It's called the letdown. And so when baby has that suckle, or you're pumping, or you're even thinking about your baby, or you hear your baby cry, this is telling your baby to release oxytocin, which squeezes the milk-like clusters to send out milk. So that's kind of the hormones, oxytocin and prolactin. Those are the two main hormones that are involved with breastfeeding. So estrogen and progesterone are the two main hormones involved with pregnancy. Once the baby is delivered, once the placenta is removed, that progesterone drops and oxytocin and prolactin kick in to help make breast milk. So how it works is when a baby is at the breast, it stimulates that nerve. It tells your brain the brain sends the signal to the pituitary gland to release prolactin and oxytocin. And then the cells that are surrounding the alveoli contract and squeeze the milk out. And that is the milk ejection reflex. And that's what baby ends up getting. So that was kind of the anatomy part. And now the physiology. So how does breastfeeding work? So the first couple days, everything is hormonally driven. So whether you want to breastfeed or not, your body is going to make some milk. And so everything is based off of hormones. After that, after about 5 days, 7 days or so, your body switches into the supply and demand mode. And this is all driven based off you. So I like to think about, your breasts like a factory. It's not a storage unit. So if your breasts if the factory is making a product and there's a big demand, it's going to keep making that product. If the people don't want that product, why would the factory go into making more of it? It's not going to continue to make more of it if it's not needed. So same with your breasts. Your breasts are a factory, not a storage unit. If there's no demand for it, it's going to slowly cut back on production. And so you need to remove milk to tell your body to keep making more milk. So the more milk you remove, the more milk your body will make. And one of the analogies I like to give is an ice maker. So you go to your refrigerator and, you push the button thing and ice comes out. Well, there's a sensor in the freezer that senses how much ice is in there. And if that ice box gets to a certain level, it senses that it's low, that machine, the ice box, is going to keep making more ice. But if that ice machine has a lot of ice and it's not really being removed, you're not using it, it's going to slow down production. It's probably not going to make a whole lot of ice because it doesn't need to make ice. Does that make sense? So that's how the supply and demand of your breasts work. So what does influence milk supply? I'm sure maybe you know someone or you yourself experienced it. Maybe you did have low milk supply. And some things that influence your milk supply are breast tissue. So remember, I mentioned it's not how big your breasts are, it's how much breast tissue you have. So if you don't have a lot of breast tissue, maybe during puberty, your breasts never grew. Maybe you had breast augmentation, breast reduction, and some breast tissue was removed. All of those things are going to influence how much milk your body can make. There's also hormonal issues that might influence your output, your milk supply. So PCOS is a big one. Thyroid issues, that's another one. So if you have any hormonal imbalances, that can influence how much milk you're making. If you have any complications, even getting pregnant, maybe you had an IVF baby, sometimes that can affect your hormones and how much milk you're able to make. The other thing is milk removal. How much milk is being removed? So whether that's baby or pumping, so like I mentioned, the supply and demand. If that milk is not being removed, whether that's babies unable to efficiently remove milk, or babies, maybe you're not pumping efficiently, or you're just not nursing baby frequently enough, maybe you're doing a combination of supplementing and breastfeeding, well, that lack of milk removal will decrease your supply. Stress is probably a huge one that can affect oxytocin. So oxytocin is the feel-good hormone, but it also is the let-down hormone. So if you have a lot of stress going on, maybe you don't have a lot of support, that can influence your milk supply. So the first couple days postpartum, your body is making colostrum, and your body is actually making colostrum at around 16 to 21 weeks during pregnancy, and your body continues to have colostrum up until delivery and a couple days after. And colostrum is very thick and sticky. It's kind of like a honey-like consistency. And it's considered the first immunization, so it's filled with antibodies. It's also a natural laxative, so it's helping to get rid of that meconium, that black tarry poop, and helping to bring in that mustard poop. It's very small in volume, but it's all baby needs. They consider it also like a primer for newborn gut. So babies are born with like a leaky gut, and this is actually a good thing. We want them to have a leaky gut because this allows the large antibodies to get into their bloodstream, but colostrum helps coat it. So it's kind of like a primer for their gut. Then about 3 to 5 days postpartum, even up to a week, you'll have the transitional milk. And the transitional milk is going from colostrum to mature milk. And this is going to take your milk to more of a, from a dark golden yellow to a lighter white color. And this is usually when moms start to feel engorged. So you might have a feeling of fullness, like your breast just feeling a little fuller. And that's your body allowing or bringing in that mature milk. Mature milk then comes in about 7 to 14 days postpartum, and you no longer have colostrum at this point. The breast milk composition continues to change, and at this point, it all is supply and demand. So definitely we want to encourage lots of frequent feedings, allow baby to nurse as frequently as possible to help regulate and calibrate your milk supply. So how to get breastfeeding off to a good start. So biggest thing, skin to skin. I know it seems like, why would skin to skin benefit that? But skin to skin, it helps calm you down. It also, you can smell your baby, baby is there. And so it's telling, so much of breastfeeding is psychological. Like there's a huge psychological component to it. So by doing skin to skin, you're allowing your body to kind of kickstart and know like, okay, there is a baby here. It's also calming the baby. It's also allowing babies to have frequent exposure to the breast. So skin to skin is going to be great. As soon as baby is delivered, ideally you want to bring them up. If there's no complications, everything's fine. Bring them up and put them on your chest and delay any weights, delay vitals, delay a bath, and just spend time doing skin to skin. You want to place baby in a prone position, which is similar to how they were in the womb. And ideally, you want to start removing milk about 8 to 12 times a day. And that could be either baby nursing or you hand expressing. I will say that the first couple days when you have colostrum, a pump is not going to be very efficient in removing that milk because colostrum is very thick and sticky. And so you actually want to you'll be more efficient if you can do some hand expressing. And that is going to help get the colostrum out better than pumping will. So although breastfeeding is natural, that doesn't mean it's easy. It's definitely a learned skill. So just like a toddler learning how to walk, sure, it's innate, it's their natural instinct to learn how to walk, but they fall a lot. They're constantly falling down. And so it's just a learned skill. So just because your baby maybe didn't latch right away, didn't figure it out right away, doesn't mean that it's necessarily over. It just might take more time. It is that learned skill, and you're both learning. So it can definitely take some time, which is okay. So I want you to look at these two pictures and tell me which latch looks better. Is it the one on the left or the one on the right? So the baby on the right has a better latch. So if we look at the baby on the left, we can see that the arm is in the way between the baby's body and the breast. The chin is not planted on the breast, so ideally we want that chin to touch the breast. Whereas the baby on the right, the arm is under the breast, and there's nothing interfering with the latch, and the chin is planted against mom's breast. So the analogy I give is like if we're eating dinner and our dinner plate is here, but our bodies are facing outward, it's going to be really uncomfortable to eat. So ideally, we want to turn our body inward facing our meal. We also, if our plate is here, we don't have our arm across and we're just trying to eat. We have our arm on either side of our dinner plate. So same with the baby. We want one arm under the breast, one on top. We want baby's hips stacked on top of each other. We want them directly facing their dinner plate, your breast, and they have a good deep latch. So some things you can do, and I'll go a little more into it in the next slide, but babies have this reflex that when you trigger their nose or their upper lip, they open their mouth. So it's called the rooting reflex. And if you can kind of allow them to plant their chin on the breast, they're going to open wide, like they're going in for an apple or a hamburger. And as soon as they do, you bring them into you for that deep latch. And the reason why deep latch is important is not only can baby remove a lot more milk that way, but it also is going to reduce your pain, your nipple pain. So if you think about a baby, we have the hard palate and then the soft palate. So just like us, we have a hard palate, soft palate. And if the baby is sucking on just the nipple, that nipple is hitting the hard palate. And that's going to cause a lot of pain and cracked nipples. So ideally, we want that nipple to go far back to touch the soft palate. So the way that we can latch baby on, like I mentioned, tummy to tummy, so they're facing their dinner plate. You can hold your breast, you can support your breast, especially if you have larger breasts or they're just feeling really heavy, or maybe you have a preemie and your baby is just like tiny, and so you want to support your breast a little bit. So putting your hands in like a C shape, bringing your baby tummy to tummy. Nose to nipple, which elicits baby to open their mouth wide. And then as soon as baby opens wide, bring them in. And it can take several tries. We want baby to basically be like they're yawning and just open wide and bring baby to breast. So sometimes I'll find parents trying to like put their breast in baby's mouth, but you actually want to bring baby to you. You want their lips to be flared out and their chin buried in the chest. If you have pain for more than 5 to 10 seconds, then take baby off. So put your finger in and break that seal and take the baby off. So that is a sign that baby has a shallow latch and is just chomping on your nipple. So definitely come back to this, and it takes a lot of practice. Baby is learning how to breastfeed, you're learning, finding different positions. I will find that parents use pillows sometimes, and I'm actually not a huge fan of pillows. I believe that one reason why we're still swollen is that's life's natural pillow. So if you can lean back and put baby right on top of your uterus, your swollen uterus, your belly, and they're tummy to tummy and they're well supported, you're going to feel a lot more comfortable. You're taking pressure off of your perineum, which is, especially if you had an episiotomy or you tore or you just have a lot of pain down there, that can be really helpful. If you had a C-section, leaning back is also very helpful. So, you want to be comfortable. Some parents will try to just push through any discomfort for the sake of baby, but you both want to be comfortable, especially if they're eating 8 to 12 times a day and they're nursing for 40 minutes. You definitely want to be in a comfortable position. So you might be going through this and oh, this is all great, but what if my baby won't latch? What if I have low milk supply? What if I get clogged ducts? What if my baby isn't transferring milk? What if my baby's refusing? First of all, I wouldn't have a job if breastfeeding was easy. They created lactation consultants because things come up. So don't stress. Know that this happens and it's something we can troubleshoot and something that we can figure out and come up with a plan. So if your baby isn't latching or won't suck, it is not because they don't want you. It is not because they can't. Sometimes they just need a little more support. It might be the way you're holding them. Maybe they feel like they're falling backwards and they just can't get that good latch. Maybe they're just really inconsolable. Maybe it's the way you're holding them, especially in labor and delivery. Maybe they had forceps or a vacuum used, or they were in a weird position, and so now they have some bruising, and so now the way that you're holding them is causing some pain. So there's usually a reason why baby won't latch or won't suck. Maybe they're very drowsy. Maybe they have a tongue tie, and I won't go too much into that, but maybe there's just some kind of oral restriction that's preventing them. But either way, we need to get baby calories. So the way that we can get baby calories is to hand express. So with hand expressing, you'll just compress your breasts and just squeeze the areola right behind the nipple, and you can collect that milk in a spoon or a medicine cup and feed it to baby that way. Maybe you start pumping and, removing milk that way. Bottles can cause a preference. It's not so much nipple confusion as it is nipple preference. So especially if babies are having a hard time actually latching on, they might prefer a bottle. There are different tools out there. There is a nipple shield, and that is a tool. It shouldn't just be handed out to everyone, but it might help. I would definitely work with a lactation consultant to figure out what's going on and if you really need that. But sometimes it's just the positioning. Sometimes it's just having lots of patience and practice. Go back to the beginning. Let's do the skin to skin. Let's calm baby down. Let's bring them down. Maybe start hand expressing to remove some milk. Maybe you do use the nipple shield temporarily. Like I said, it's a tool. I don't want everyone to just jump to using it because it might not be necessary. But know that there's usually a reason and it's usually solvable. Low milk supply, so watch output. What goes in must come out. Ideally, by day 4, babies should have about 4 to 6 wet diapers. And if you're curious if your baby is having a good diaper, you want to get 3 tablespoons on a clean diaper and just feel how that feels, and that is what a good wet diaper is. Some parents will look at just if there's a blue line on the diaper, and that's not really a good indicator to see did they actually have a good wet diaper. Also want to look at weight gain. Is baby gaining weight? Is baby pooping every day? Is baby alert and not sleepy all the time? So yes, babies will fall asleep at the breast, but do they have some wake windows, or are they just constantly sleeping? Do they have low muscle tone? Maybe we need to see an occupational therapist or physical therapist or a pediatric chiropractor, some kind of body worker to help with any tension or low muscle tone. Do you hear swallows? So when a baby is breastfeeding, you should hear a k, 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 k sound, and those are swallows. Can you hear that? Babies don't just breastfeed for hunger. They also breastfeed for closeness or comfort. They love to suckle to sleep. It's also their hydration. So if you're wondering, oh, I must not have milk, my breasts feel really soft. Is baby gaining weight? Is baby having good output? Can you hear swallows? Are they all overall content? Then you're probably making milk. So it's not just about how your breasts feel. If baby is not gaining weight sufficiently, if baby is not having good output, then maybe you do have low milk supply. And I would strongly recommend working with a lactation consultant to see what's going on. Is it you genuinely don't have the supply, or does baby have something going on like an oral restriction, and that is causing the low milk supply? So seeing a lactation consultant can help troubleshoot. With clogged ducts and mastitis, so clogged ducts and mastitis, this is inflammation of the breast. This is when your breasts feel very inflamed. It can be warm to the touch. And we used to tell moms to use warm compresses, but we actually want to use cold compresses. So just like inflammation, if you think about like spraining a wrist, you're not going to be very rough with it. You're not going to put heat on it. You're going to put ice on it. You're going to rest. And that's basically what we're doing with the breast too. We're putting ice, so cold compresses, and you're going to do breast gymnastics. And breast gymnastics is basically just lifting up your breast, moving it around. Maybe you ever so gently massage the area. And that is helping to move any extra fluid, any lymph up to the lymphatic system. You still want to remove milk per usual, so no need to breastfeed and then pump and then breastfeed and pump and like drain the breast. So we used to think that was the case, but now just nurse on demand, nurse your baby as is, but do lots of rest, immune support. So especially with mastitis, that is inflammation of the breast. So we want to strengthen your immune system, rest. If you're getting recurrent clogged ducts, recurrent mastitis, we want to figure out why. Why is this happening? Because if breastfeeding is going well, you shouldn't be getting clogged ducts. So is baby removing milk? Do you have the right flange size if you're pumping? How's your nutrition? How's your gut health? So I've seen a lot of moms get recurrent mastitis after they've had antibiotics. Maybe they had antibiotics at delivery, or they had a UTI. This also makes them susceptible to thrush. So, try to see, okay, what is the root cause? Why are they getting recurrent clogged ducts? Poor milk transfer. So like I mentioned, are you getting clogged ducts because of poor milk transfer? Does baby have a weak suck, a disorganized suck? Is there a tongue tie or oral restriction? We also want to look at the flange size. So with pumping, do you have the right flange? So we used to think that we wanted our nipple to just be freely moving in and out, but we actually want it to be pretty snug. So if you're measuring your nipple, ideally you want to measure your nipple just from one side of the nipple to the other side, and then only add 0 to 2. So we used to think add up to 5, but we know now that that is still way too big. So your pump generally comes with a 24 millimeter flange, but the majority of moms I see are about 15, 17, and 19, so much smaller. So making sure you have the right flange size is going to be huge. So another common issue is breast refusal. And I know some moms think that, oh, my baby hates me, my baby doesn't want me, or my baby calms down when they're with dad, like they must not like me. That is not the case at all. I know it can be very frustrating, but that is not the case. So if a baby is pushing away, it's not because they don't want you, it's that they can't. Maybe they have a bottle preference. Maybe they just can't latch. Babies are very smart. So they're going to prefer something that's easier for them. So once again, go back to the basics. Do lots of skin to skin, offer the breast frequently, try to calm your nerves down. I know this is really hard to do, especially if you had a traumatic birth or if you've become a little dissociated, but babies do mimic our reactions and our nervous system. So you are meant to be baby's safe place. So if you can calm your nerves down, which I know is hard to do and easier said than done, but try to calm yourself down and calm baby down. Sometimes I see families take babies to a chiropractor, but mom isn't getting adjusted either. I think mom needs a massage. Mom needs an adjustment. She was super tight too, especially labor and delivery. Her body is tense for hours at a time. So having her get adjusted, and then baby too, and then just spend lots of time doing skin to skin. Offer the breast frequently. Check positioning. Babies refusing to breastfeed because they're just not positioned well. Maybe you have them facing upward and you're trying to put your breast in their mouth and they just can't get that good latch. Are they transferring milk? Is it easier for them to get milk through a bottle? Maybe you do need to give a little bit of milk and via bottle and then put them back to the breast. And definitely, like with all of this, see an IBCLC lactation consultant. It's our job to figure out what's going on and to kind of zoom out and see what is going on. Is it positioning? Is it mom? Is it, what is it? So just some things to expect. So the first 2 to 4 weeks are generally the hardest. So you and your baby are both learning. It's like a sport. It won't come overnight. I like to say it's like learning how to tango, how to dance. Baby knows how to dance, you know how to dance, but you don't know how to dance together. You're going one way, baby's going the other way, you're stepping on each other's feet. So it just takes practice, and that's okay. It is a learned skill, and it won't happen overnight. For some people it does, but not everyone. There's also going to be transitions in your breast milk. You're going to have periods of, maybe engorgement, and then feeling like you have no milk, and then you have clogged ducts. So it's going to be a roller coaster. Your breasts are constantly calibrating how much to make. If your baby is going longer stretches at nighttime, maybe they're cluster feeding and needing to eat more frequently. Try to sleep and rest when baby sleeps. Hydrate, eat well. Definitely check out Full Well's knowledge on postpartum nutrition. I talk about how to eat well with the baby in that section. You'll have good days and bad days, but hang in there. I find that support, whether that's from a partner, a friend, or a specialist, pediatrician, is going to be crucial. So find the people that will support you. And I just want to say, in this image right here, this is not good breastfeeding position. So you can see mom is hunched over. She's using a pillow. Ideally, we want to lean back and baby get that deep latch. Just noticed that. So overall, find your village. It seems like nowadays we don't really have a village. We're living far away from family. Maybe you just moved and you don't have a lot of friends nearby. I know that was something difficult that I went through because we're a military family and we actually moved when I was 34 weeks pregnant. So it's very hard to find your village. You might want to reach out and see if there's any postpartum doulas in your area who can just help you. Just adjust to this postpartum period. Try to see if your husband, your partner can get additional leave just to help take care of you. Find professional help. Who are your chiropractors? Who are the breastfeeding friendly pediatricians? Who are, some other healthcare professionals that you can trust? Pediatric dentists. Just who can support you in this postpartum period? Who are some good mom friends that you can make? Any mom support groups, even if they're Facebook groups, try to find your village. So just remember, breastfeeding is a learned skill. It takes practice and perseverance. You have to be motivated and supported. Don't quit on a bad day. You're definitely going to have bad days. You're going to have days where you just want to throw in the towel. I know I did, and I'm a lactation consultant. I remember with my first, I was like, wow, this is actually hard, just because you're just constantly being needed by someone else, and you feel like you're the only one who can feed your baby, and you are. And that's okay. I mean, if you do want to give a bottle here and there, remember it doesn't have to be all or nothing. You can definitely combo feed. I will say that try to do as much feeding as you can from the breast. And once you get over that hump, those first initial weeks, even 2, 4, even up to 6 weeks postpartum, once you get over that hump, things do start to improve. Protect your mental health. Mental health is huge, and really do what you can. Don't think of this as all or nothing. Every little drop you give is wonderful. So thank you so much. You are an amazing mom. Thank you for being here. If you have any questions, you can definitely check me out. I post a lot of stuff on Instagram, so you can see me at aloha.nutrition. I also offer virtual support as well as local support if you're here in San Angelo, Texas. But yeah, thank you all so much. Here are some additional books that I love that I find have been really helpful in my practice for breastfeeding. All right, take care.